Okay, in today's class, I'm going to explain JavaScript iterables. Okay, so as I told you that these are all free classes which are being conducted since 2023, 14 January. This is the almost 23, 24, 25, 26, 3 years completed. This is the fourth year. So as I promised that I will continue the classes until my last breath of life over the programming, okay, to enhance the coding skills in the students who are residing in the rural areas. They are away of network centers. They are living in border areas like desert, Thar desert, and they are living in hilly areas like Himachal, Jammu Kashmir, Uttarakhand. Okay, so I hope that these classes will be so useful to all of you, and these are very free classes, thrice of a day, weekly 3 days the classes will be conducted. So you can attend my classes, okay, freely. And the class link, Zoom class link, I have shared in different platforms in Twitter, Facebook, WhatsApp groups, even though in YouTube channel also I have shared that link. That is the permanent link given to attend the classes, and the classes will be conducted thrice a week, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So that moment, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, sharply at 8 p.m. in Zoom, and you can come into the classes simply by clicking on that link. Okay, in today's class, I'm going to explain JavaScript iterables. What is iterable? Iterable is a word which will be used to an object. Okay, so a JavaScript iterable means it is an iterable object. Over that object, iteration can be done. Iteration, iterable. Iterable is an object by which iteration takes place. Iteration means looping through an object. That object is being iterable. So it is an object. So iteration means looping through an object. So iterable is a word which refers to an object. Okay, that object can be iterated, looped. So iterable can be iterated over with the for of loops. And a iterable object can be iterated with the for of loops. The for of loop, JavaScript for of statement loops through the elements of an iterable object. Every object must have some elements. So that elements will be iterated. They can be navigated. They can be looped. These all words are equal words. Looped, navigated, iterated. So for of loop will be used to loop through the elements of an iterable object. Okay, let us see. So this is the syntax for variable of iterable. So here we need to write that variable of iterable. Okay, variable syntax. Okay, next in these flower braces, the code block to be executed, that is to be written here. Some line of code we need to write here that is to be executed. Okay, so iterating means looping over a sequence of elements. A sequence of elements. A sequence of elements. Iterating means looping over a sequence of elements. Iterating is a word mostly used. Iterable, iterating. Both are different words. Both are different words. Iterating is a word. Iterable is a word. Iterable what? Iterable means iterable represents iterable object. That object will have so many elements. So iterating means looping over that elements of that object. Looping over means navigating, iterating. So iterating means looping over a sequence of elements. Some examples. Example, iterating over a string. So that moment every string character will be printed. Iterating over an array. I told you that array it will contain lot of elements. Okay. Iterating over a set. So set will have lot of multiple different values. Array will have same values. Set will have multiple values and different type of values. Iterating over a map. So iterating over a string. Let us see. So here we will use for of loop to iterate over the elements of a string. So here, this is the string represented in double quotation mark. I told you that in JavaScript, we can represent the any string in double quotation or single quotation marks. Here is one variable created, which is assigned with a string value. And that variable created with constant keyword. I told you that in JavaScript, 3 keywords will be used to create the variables: constant keyword, variable, var keyword, let keyword. So constant keyword, by this, whatever the values we have assigned for this variable, they are constant, can't be changed. So now by for of loop, this variable which is having this string, that is to be iterated with the for loop. So one indexing variable created with constant keyword, and that indexing variable, it initially its value will be 0. So whenever initial value 0, the loop for loop goes to at 0 index and reads that first character. Every character is indexed. Okay. Every character is first index 0. 0 index means position of that character 0, 1 index, second index, third index, like that. Every time this for loop goes into this, means loop through this string, means iterating, looping, navigating, all are equal words. So this for loop will navigate to this for loop will navigate through the string and reads that character which is at 0 index, because for loop starts from 0 index, first position of the character. From it reads from left to right, okay, and that will be stored. We need to create a separate variable. This variable, why do we need? We need to, because for loop initially its value 0, it needs to go 0 index. That's why. And every time that x will be incremented to 0 plus 1, 1 plus 1. Every time it will be incremented to 1. Okay, now let us see the code. This is the code written here. So all the characters, they have been displayed one by one. So this is I told you that this is the JavaScript document. So this is the first line indicates the JavaScript document to indicate that this is the web page document type of HTML. Okay, hypertext markup language 5th version. So HTML start tag and HTML end tag indicates that inside of this, the code is of HTML code. Inside of this body element, so whatever the code written inside of this body element up to here, that will be displayed on the screen. Okay. So whatever the JavaScript code inside of JavaScript tags, script start tag, script end tag. Inside of this, whatever the code you write, that will be displayed on that will be executed. So let us, we need to write all the code inside of this script tags. Okay, here one variable created that is assigned with this string. So variable created with constant keyword. Next, one more variable created with let. It is empty variable, kept empty. Now for loop started. One index variable created. This for loop loops through this variable, which is having this string. So, and every time for loop goes initially x0, so for loop navigates and find out the character which is at 0 index. Okay, and that is stored in this text variable. This is empty code. We have written text plus equal to plus y, because it is to be every time character to be added. If you keep only is equal, so how every time it is to be added and answer to be displayed on the screen. Whatever the value, character value stored in this X value, X indexing variable that is stored in this empty variable. Okay. And this method will be used, get element by ID method will be used to find out the HTML element, not content. Huh? And inner HTML attribute will be used to display the HTML, JavaScript content. Huh? The content that is stored in this variable, which will be displayed, and this line break, to get the line break. Every line is broken. Okay. So now let us, this demo variable, this is the one attribute. Okay. This is value. This value demo is assigned to ID attribute. Whatever the attribute value assigned for this ID attribute, that will be surely mentioned here for this get element by ID. This value that is to be passed as a parameter. Okay, by this identifier, by this value, this method get element by ID method, this is the mostly used JavaScript HTML method that will display. It will find the HTML element, and that will be displayed, that content, that element has whatever the content that will be displayed by this inner HTML attribute. So now let us see the code, total code. Okay, I want to delete this total code. Now this is the screen window. This is the code window. This is the online web editor, so that we can write the code here and we can take back the code, whether how it is being executed. Now let us start the class to write the code first. First exclamation mark and HTML, capital letters. Next, doc type. Document type is called HTML. Okay. Doc type is good document. This is the HTML document, web page. Next, tag start with HTML element started with start tag. Next, HTML element closed with, it is closed with HTML end tag. Next, this is what body element started from here. Next, body element closed. Okay, body element closed. So what do you mean of this? Try to understand. So inside of this, whatever the code we will write, that will be displayed here. Okay, this is the HTML. This is compulsory. It indicates that the code is belonging to hypertext markup language code. Inside of this body element, the element has one start tag, one end tag. Inside of this, the code, whatever you write, that will be displayed. Example, one header. That header is what? Iterable. Iterable. Iterable means iterable object. Okay. Now this element to be closed with now. So it is not case sensitive. You have written small letters. You have closed with capital letter. There is no issue. Okay. Now this start tag, this end tag will be called as an element. Okay. Inside of this, whatever the content you have written, that will be displayed on the screen. Okay. Now come to the point. One ID that is very important. One ID P, okay, and P element and P element close. Close means we need to keep the forward slash. For every close element, close tag, we need to keep the forward slash. So here try to understand. Now this is the P element, end tag, this is the start tag. Now inside of this, you need to write that ID. One ID that is to be assigned with a value. That value, your interest, whatever the value, you need to keep XYZ, me, your name, my name, XYZ. If you simply you want to write my name, there is no any problem. You need to mention as a string. Okay. Either single quotation or double quotation. The same value, this value to be passed to the get element by ID method. That method will find out the HTML element which is having the content. Okay. No. So this ID, one ID, one ID attribute is assigned with a value. Now come to the point. Up to this is what one code you have written. This is up to HTML code. Now you want to write any code for JavaScript. Okay. You need to write the code inside of the script. Okay. Inside of the, understood that. Script, JavaScript code that is to be written inside of this script start tag, script end tag. Now let us see. We will write the code like this inside of this. First of all, comment here. What is today's class is what? Iterable. Iterable. So iterable is what? It is a JavaScript iterable object. But object may have, it may be any array, it may be set, it may be any string. So over that iterable object, iteration will be done. Iteration will be takes place by the help of for of loop. For loop will iterate through that object and display the elements, values. Okay. Now, first of all, we need to create a variable. That is what? Any variable. Any variable you take school. School is a variable. It is assigned with a string. Okay. Suppose W3 schools. Now it is terminated. So one variable created, it is assigned with a string. Over this string, your iteration will be done. So this is an iterable object. Now W3 schools becomes an iterable object. Over this, our for of loop. Okay. For of loop. For of loop. Okay. It iterates through this W3 schools. So for we need to create an indexing variable. Suppose any indexing of school. Okay. So this for loop iterates through school. This school is a variable. But we need to mention that in JavaScript, whenever you create variables, we need to write the keyword, either constant keyword, var keyword, otherwise let keyword. So constant, take any variable. Okay. Let one variable created, and before that we need to create one empty. Okay. Let, otherwise var. Okay. Var is a variable. Suppose text is a variable created. It is what? Empty. Or empty variable created. Why? Because empty variable, whenever this for loop iterates through this string, and as per this x value, initial its value 0. So for loop goes for 0 index and takes that value, and it needs to store in this variable. Okay, understood that. Now we need to write the code like this. Okay. Now here your text plus equal to y plus every time that string value to be added, initially w and next 3, that will be added. Here this is for what? Text equal to xy, because x, as per this x index, the value will be taken, and that will be that as per this x value, initial value 0, the first character will be read, iterated and reads, and that will be stored because is equal to text. Text is an empty variable. So whenever x is equal to 1, the for loop iterates through, goes through this string and takes the one index character, that is string, and that will be stored in this text variable. So now we need to write what now it is to be terminated. That is very important. Huh? It is to be terminated. Now we need to write one code, one method, JavaScript get element by ID method. Get element by ID method. And that method must be passed with ID value. This is the value. Same value you pass was as it is. If here is character, if you have kept one space, you need to keep one space. Otherwise, this by this ID attribute value, your JavaScript element to be found. So as it is, you need to pass. Okay, this is the ID, and this ID has one more attribute, inner HTML attribute. It is to be assigned with what in this text. Okay. Now get element by ID. This is the method of this document web page. So we need to write document. Why? Because try to understand. This method is running in this web page HTML document. So this method is part of this web page. So document dot get element by ID. Okay, now so let us see. Now let us check back that any code errors, if we have written any code errors, we need to check back that. Okay. First one variable created. This is with var keyword, empty variable, for of loop, index variable. Here the mistake what we have done here. This indexing variable, every time variable to be created in JavaScript, either let var, whatever the var, either constant. So let, okay. So for loop, it will be iterated through this variable which is assigned with a string. So now let us see. So what we are getting as it is, we are getting, but I want to see one by one. That moment I need to pass a break here. That break br. Okay. This is the syntax. We need to write the break, line break. Okay. Line break. So now see, but we are not getting why. What is the problem? Problem is what okay. Okay. This is the syntax. We need to write the syntax like this. Okay. Otherwise, now we are getting all the words one by one. All the words, letters one by one. Now what happened? This for loop for loop iterates through this string. So now it is an iterable object. It is simply called iterable, otherwise it is an iterable object. So for loop iterates through this iterable object and displays all the characters one by one. If you remove this, if you will not use this plus symbol, so only one letter, only starting letter, first letter, only for why first letter, initially x value 0, Okay, one value. One value means at the last value. It is written, shown here. If you keep the plus here and remove this is equal to, now you will not get anything. So you need to write this is equal to, that you will get all the one by one. So this plus means, plus and equal to means every time this for loop iterates through this object means string and takes that value character, and that will be added to this empty variable. And we are requesting to, I have passed this variable text to inner HTML. Inner HTML, it is an attribute which will be used to find out the HTML content. Content is where in this text variable. It is empty. Every time this for loop iterates through this and takes that value and reads that value as per index of X, and that will be displayed on the screen. Iterable Iterable means, no, iterable. Remove this. Iterable means iterable object. Okay. For W3 schools. Now, now let us do what I need to explain here. This is very important. You must be able to understand this topic. Now, see here we have used two languages. If you want to become good web developer, you must be familiar with HTML, hypertext markup language, which is mostly used to create the web page, and JavaScript, the code written inside of the script tags. This is called JavaScript code to create the interactive and dynamic web pages. Here, one more language, that is CSS. CSS cascading style sheets. Okay. Always the cascading style sheet code that must be written inside of the style start tag. Here you need to write the code. The style inside of the style element, one element has two tags, start tag, end tag. End tag always must be closed with the forward slash. Inside of this code, whatever you write, that will style your web page. Style, whatever the style. If you want to increase the font size of this heading, and if you want to give background color of this, so that will be find out by the selectors. Suppose body, this is total, this is the body, this is the total, this is what background, white background, this is called body. Body will be selected by this selector, and inside of this whatever the code, now this web page body will be selected, and if you want to write font color, font background, okay, is equal to, what is background? Otherwise, if it is not, suppose if you have written orange, okay, orange. So let us see. So now background we have written, but orange not executed. You need syntax errors, little bit of syntax errors. So you need to, simple mistakes we do. So not executed, you do one thing, click the column. You write this one, but it is not. So what do you mean of this? You have written the code inside of the style element to style the web page. Here, by this body selector, I have selected the body, and that body background color, I want to use this orange color. If it is not executed, nothing to worry. Just you need to check back the syntax, because of now, while we are studying, that moment maybe we will forget the syntax. The body background color orange. So this code written inside of the style element. Style element inside of the style start tag. and end tag, the code will be written that is part of your CSS, cascading style sheet code. Cascading style sheet code, that is what you know. As I told you that if you want to become good web developer, we need to be familiar with three languages. That is what one is your JavaScript, one is your HTML and CSS. HTML, it will be used to write the code, develop the web page. CSS, cascading style sheet, that is used to style the web page. Like style is what? Background color, font, this font if you want to change. So that all the code that is to be written inside of this style, okay, and body by these elements, okay, by this body element, by every element here body. If you want to select this element, you need to take this element is h1 element. So you need to write that in style, you write that h1 element, and inside of this flower braces terminate. Okay. Now now by this selector h1, by this selector by this selector h1, what happens, you know? By this selector h1, this selector will be, means this h1 will be selected, header will be selected, and its color, its font, it is, we can style, we can write, okay, we can write the code for that. So that is very simple, okay. If you want to write the code, simply find h1 selector, means by this h1 selector this header is selected. Now its color, if you want to write, okay, font color, font color, column blue, okay. What do you mean of this? See, body will be colored with the yellow color, and only the font h1 will be colored with the blue. Understood that? If it is not execute, your code is not execute, simple little bit of what? Your syntax error, grammar errors. Maybe for this font, some other word, maybe font color. Okay. So blue I have written, that is okay. But we need to check back this, how to give the font color. That is very important. Font size. Okay. And one more, we'll check back later. First one H1, and now font size. Font size. Okay. Column. Pixels. 10 pixels. PX. Like this. This is the code actually. So if it is not executed, don't worry. You need to go through, you need to go through the, you need to go through the, that is syntax. Okay. Here, what I did here, see, in the style element, okay, style element, two lines of code I have written. One is the body selector. By this body selector, the total body selected and colored with orange color. If you change any red color, the you, that is will be changed as red. If you change blue, background color will be changed. Okay. So light blue, if you want to write light blue, depend upon whatever the color you want to keep, light blue. This is the, this code written for body. By this body selector, the body is selected. By this H1 selector, only the header. This is the header content that will be selected, and it is colored with blue. Understood that? That's like this we can write the code. So here in this class, I have used all the style code written inside of the style code written inside of the web page by um style script. This is the style tag. Okay. Inside of the script tag, JavaScript code written. This is the CSS, cascading style sheet code. So in this total web page, I have used all three languages: HTML, hypertext markup language under this body section. Okay, under this style element inside of this, I have written the code for CSS code to style the web page. Inside of this script element, I have written the code up to here. This is the JavaScript code. So that if you want to become good developer of your web page, surely you must have the knowledge of three languages. Okay. So if you have any comments, you can discuss with me. My number is 9110398650. And have a nice day. We will meet on next Saturday. Today is Friday. As I promised, 3 days of classes will be conducted: Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Today is Friday. Um, Today is 9 January 2026. We will meet on 10 January 2026 and 11 January also. Jai Hind.